What is up, guys? In this video, I want to just quickly talk about Garmin's newest release of the handheld outdoor series of GPS, which is GPSMAP 66sr. Now, before this, Garmin has already released a whole bunch of 66 series, the 66S, the 66ST, and 66i. All of those have very similar features, okay? But the SR actually stands at the top of the game because the SR features the Garmin's GNSS, which is multi-satellite support, multi-positioning satellite support system. Also, the SR features a rechargeable, non-removable lithium-ion battery. This battery lasts for about 35 hours of use, according to Garmin. And during my first couple of days of testing, I can tell you that the battery indeed lasts a very long time compared to the previous unit that I had, which was a Garmin Oregon 700 handheld GPS. The SR features the topo maps and also features the ABC sensors. Oh, there's my cat. So the altimeter, the barometer, and the compass. So it's got all the built-in sensors that you can have. On top of that, it also supports some of the ANT Plus and Bluetooth sensors if you want to pair it up with your bicycle as well as heart rate sensor. Okay, so those are the options that's available for the GPSMAP 66 series. But if you are an avid athlete, if you do a lot of triathlon, if you do a lot of running, cycling, this might not be the best option because this is actually more geared towards just outdoor hiking, adventure type of activities. I'll show you guys why and the difference between this and a dedicated maybe triathlon GPS watch or a Garmin Edge cycling GPS. Okay, so let's get started. So again, the SR is the top of the line unit. It's kind of similar to the 66i, which also have a built-in battery, but the I has I think the in-reach capability. However, I don't think the I have the multi-GPS support. The system, I've been using the GPS for a few days. I'm gonna turn it off and show you guys how fast the device powers up. Okay, so from fully off to fully up. And I have also downloaded a few of the custom maps, the free maps that's available from OpenStreetMaps, which is the same map that Garmin uses actually, and Garmin sells on their website. So if you want topo maps, you really don't need to buy the SR. If you just want topo maps, get the 66S and go download the OpenStreetMaps free topo maps. And if you want to do cycling, download the free cycling map from OpenStreetMaps, which Garmin also sells on their own website for almost $20. Okay, it's pretty much same product that applies to the 66 series. Okay, so now the GPS is actually powered up. I have the screensaver enabled, which actually locks the screen when the screen turns off. But if you just press the power button, it turns on the screen again, and you can go to the menu by pressing the menu button twice. It goes back to the home screen. Now for you guys that haven't used the Garmin GPS system, this whole operation kind of feels very vintage, old school, like Windows 95-ish, because the buttons kind of seems like they're out of the place. However, you just have to use it for a few days, and actually those buttons will become second nature, and it's very easy to access every feature that you need. Okay, so pretty much this is your home screen. I have already customized this one page for cycling. You can have different activities. If you just go to profile, change, and you'll see there are a whole bunch of pre-made activities in this GPS. Unfortunately, for this GPS, you cannot add any additional profiles. This is all the profiles you get, and you cannot even change the names. And I have the newest system update. I don't know why you cannot do that, because on my old Oregon 700, you can actually change the profiles to whatever you like. So I'll just show you guys what the profile you have for this 66sr GPS. Okay, so by default, it's gonna be in hike mode, and you have the tour cycle mode, you have the mountain bike mode, the hunt mode, fishing mode, climb mode, geocache mode, as well as the boating mode. Okay, so this is all the profiles you get. As you guys can see, very outdoory. Now, in this video, I mainly want to show you guys how to set it up for cycling purpose, because I bought this GPS as a tour, really as a tour cycle GPS. So the reason I didn't buy the Edge 830 or the Edge 1030 is because I actually also go hiking quite a lot. So I think this GPS would work a lot better as a multi-use GPS compared to a Edge, which is very much dedicated for cycling purpose only. And it gives you some training features, which I totally do not use at all. So this GPS fits my bill, okay? So when you first get the GPS, you're gonna be greeted in this homepage, which have a whole bunch of things such as recorded activities, the waypoint manager, your active route, and the recording controls. It also gives you an option to see the satellites, you know, how many satellites you have indoors. And by the way, the multi-GPS support is really, really amazing, okay? Indoors, I'm like right now, I'm pretty inside my house, far away from the window. And you guys can see it's got quite a lot of GPS that it found. And it's got quite a lot of Galileo satellite that it found, as well as quite like 3, I think, GLONASS GPS. With a GNSS accuracy of 6 foot. 6 foot is crazy accurate, okay? That's pretty much just a little bit more than a meter. So pretty much like within 1 to 2 steps away, that's accuracy that this GPS has with the multi-GPS support. So with that out of the way, again, that's the selling point of this GPS. I'm gonna show you guys how to set this up for cycling purpose, okay? So because when you first get the GPS, you probably don't even know where to start and where to get your activity started. Okay, so I'm gonna start from the very beginning. I'm actually gonna use another profile to show you guys how to set up a profile properly and start the tracking. Okay, so we're gonna go find the profile. We're gonna go to profile change. And I'm going to use a profile that I haven't set up before. So for example, I'm going to use mountain bike profile, which I'm probably going to set up for my mountain bike trail use. So let's go to mountain bike. Again, in this profile, you guys can see all the default available options in this GPS, which is quite a lot. It goes, you know, you flip through quite a lot of icons. And that's a reason I actually gets confused when I first got a Garmin handheld GPS, because it's just way too many icons. The first thing first, you're gonna go and delete the features that you don't need, such as, you know, the connected features, the active weather, connect IQ, notifications, bird's eye direct, which by the way, the Garmin said it's free and it gives you actually kind of a lower quality satellite image compared to like just even Google Maps. So I don't really use that. And you have a whole bunch of other tools that your cell phone does perfectly fine. For example, area calculator, the calendar, and a photo viewer. This camera does not even have a camera, okay? I mean, this GPS does not even have a camera. So I'm gonna turn off quite a lot of icons to reduce the confusion. And then we're gonna go into settings to set it up for cycling, okay? So first thing first, you're gonna find your setup and you're gonna go scroll down to your menus, and we're gonna go to the main menu. This is where it shows all the icons available that I just showed you at the previous homepage. Okay, so this is where you go to delete all the icons you don't need. For example, imagine if you're doing mountain biking, and what things you need most. It's pretty much just route, track, start your activity, and pretty much that's it. And maybe check the sunrise and sunset time, okay? So I'm gonna go ahead and start deleting. So select a icon that you don't need, hit enter, and you're just gonna hit remove. So that's gonna move it to the in-used icons, okay? So pretty much I'm gonna delete all the icons I don't need. And I'm sorry for the noise in the background. My cat is enjoying the paper box. So once you gets all those icons cleared out, you'll have a much better understanding of how the basic Garmin operation works, okay? So I'm gonna come back to the next section after I delete all those icons and show you guys the next step, okay? So as you guys can see, I have deleted all the junk icons for the mountain bike profile, and just double check we are in mountain bike profile, okay? So in this profile, now it's very clear the things you need for mountain biking, okay? You have your recording controls. If you go in here, it's pretty much start, stop, and save. And it gives you information on the elevation, on the time, on the traveled descent, ascent, all those useful goodies, as well as calories. Also shows you the map. Once you start tracking, it gives you a track of traveled areas, and of course your elevation display. Now within all those menus, within all those tabs, you can customize them by hitting the menu button and further customize each individual menu, okay? So you have a tons of options in terms of personal customization, but I'm not gonna show you guys, those options, but I want to show you guys how to set it up for mountain bike or, cycling in general. So that's your recording controls. You go to the waypoint manager. This is where if you have any waypoint saved or if you mark any waypoint, it's gonna show up over here. I'm probably gonna also delete this because I rarely use waypoints. And this is your recorded activities. This is pretty much standard in all the profiles. Pretty much your activity in any activity is gonna show up here. So those two are actually cycling activity that I did today. And it gives you a map preview as well as the elevation on the activity that you did. Again, it's nice to have your recorded activity over here just for the preview. Over here, you have the saved tracks, which I kept in this screen. The saved tracks, you can actually export GXP files or GPX files from Garmin Connect and export them into your GPS easily. Just drag and drop the files into GPS, and it's gonna save in the saved tracks. Now this is a track or kind of like a route that you can cycling around with or hiking around with. Over here, I did a test track that I actually made using the Garmin Connect web page, and I exported the file and I imported it using the I think the Basecamp, which is Garmin's map importing tool, okay? So when you go here, it actually tells you the distance. It gives you a approximate ascent and descent, and it shows you the map that I created. So obviously you can preview the map by zooming in and zooming out. The gray track is where the map is, but at this point I'm not gonna follow this track, just showing you guys what the track looks like. Okay, so this is the preview of the elevation, and we're gonna quit the tracks, and over here is your active route. So when you have a recording started, the active route is gonna actually show up of your current recording. So the route shows where you have traveled. Okay, so you probably have the option to track back and some other options in the active route once you are actually in a active recording. The setup is your bread and butter in customizing the manuals as well as customizing the recording behaviors for the mountain biking. Okay, so once you go into setup, the next thing you want to go is actually recording, because this determines the accuracy of your recording on any particular activity that you're going to be doing. Okay, so for mountain biking recording method, Garmin always defaults it to auto. If you want more accurate recording, I would suggest using time mode and record every 1 to 5 seconds of interval. Okay, so at a default 30, that's actually I think too long. Maybe if we are doing hiking, 30 is acceptable, but if you're doing mountain biking, you're moving fairly fast, so I would change this interval to much lower, to a much lower time. For example, I can just set it to 0,000. If I'm doing mountain biking, maybe every 4 seconds. And I'm gonna hit done. So now you change the recording to time and interval to 4. For any other activities, hiking, so anything that moves slow, you can kind of use a longer interval. Anything that moves fast, you'll want to use a short interval for more accurate recording, okay? I always have auto pause on, especially for cycling, because if you don't have it on, it's gonna really mess up your average speed and it's gonna mess up your total efforts as well. So it's always nice to have auto pause on. And again, this depends on your activity. If you're doing a fast moving activity, you can kind of set the speed to slightly higher. For example, if you're doing cycling, I would set it to maybe 2 miles per hour as a threshold for auto pause and just enable it. And since this is mountain biking, I'm moving slightly slower. So I'm actually just gonna use the default, which is 1.5 miles per hour. If you dip below that speed, it's gonna auto pause. Okay, so let's use 1.5, and you can go very accurate. You can go into 1.55 if you want, which I think is really not necessary. And there's the auto start feature. Now for cycling, I always turn it off because I want to be able to track where I started and where I stopped, and track my workout, my effort, my total effort while I'm on the bike. Now for hiking, since you don't want to really measure your workout, and you just want to track every place you moved, I would suggest for hiking, you turn auto start on. Again, for type of activity, again, over here, we're using cycling because mountain biking is one type of cycling activity. I don't really know what the difference is over here with the activity type. I think this is pertaining to actually when you export it to Garmin Connect, it gives you a proper activity type and tag the activity in Garmin Connect. Okay, so I'm gonna use cycling because I'm setting it up for mountain bike. And of course, you can go into advanced setup and choose the output format, which you can export outside of Garmin Connect to different websites. For example, Strava, Runkeeper or Endomondo, whatever website you want to use. I just basically default to Fit because Garmin Connect is what I use. You can also export it with Fit for Garmin Connect. At the same time, export another file in GPX for other websites. Okay, so I have a default to Fit, and auto save. Basically, I leave it in auto. I don't think it makes much difference because, again, the storage is never going to be full, and I always save my activity at the end of the workout. Next is the trip recording. So obviously, you want to record only during the activity. If you do always, it's going to record everywhere you go. It's going to record the moment you turn the GPS on, which I honestly don't want it to do, especially for mountain biking. And record data reset. That's so every time you start the activity, it's going to reset. Every time you start a new trip, it's going to reset the record. And if you use prompted, you have the option to continue your recording. For example, if you are maybe doing a ultra long triathlon, maybe if you're doing multi-day cycling, you might want to use prompted. So every time you record the new data doesn't get wiped, and it's going to continue from where you left off. Okay, so this is how you do multi-day recording by using prompted. So it's not going to accidentally wipe your data when you start a new activity. Okay, so but for me, I'm not doing that, so I always default to activity and trip. All right, and that actually pretty much covers the basics for setting it up for a cycling activity. And again, for hiking, for other activities, depending on if you're going faster or slower, the only thing you need to change are pretty much the time interval the auto pause feature, depending on if you want it or not, and the auto start feature. Make sure the activity you set up is properly tagged in here. If you tagged it wrong, that's okay. You can always change it in Garmin Connect later on, but it's better to tag it at the very beginning correctly, okay? So now I'm gonna hit the quit, and we go out to the setup menu. In the setup menu, it's also important to just check on the battery features during the activity, okay? So if you are doing cycling and you don't want the screen to black out, make sure you turn the battery save feature off, okay, in the display settings. So with the battery save off, when the backlight, which is this backlight that lights up, so you can turn the backlight off as well. When the backlight goes off, I can't really show you guys here. When the backlight goes off, the screen actually stays on. So if you're doing an outdoor activity, if you're cycling, you mount this on your handlebar, the GPS is gonna stay on with the backlight off. And that uses quite a lot less batteries, okay? As you guys can see, it's the screen is actually a trans-reflective screen, which is an excellent screen for daytime use, okay? So again, I'm gonna touch a button and it's gonna turn the backlight on. So that is controlled by the battery save mode. During cycling activities, I don't really need to look at my map. I just go, like for example, if I'm commuting or if I'm doing like a route that I know, I turn this battery save on to save battery. But if it's a route that I don't know, I'm following a track, I'll make sure to turn it off to have the screen always on so I can follow the track, okay? In the appearance, you have the option of displaying different colors, which is very subtle. It doesn't really make much difference. So you have the option of the red color for the bars. You can change it to blue, teal, any different colors. So if you change it to teal in the daytime, it's gonna show teal color for the bar only. And I'm gonna just default it to, I think this was what? Orange, I think. It's got quite a lot of colors, but really doesn't make much difference. So this is red, I can change it to yellow, and now it's a yellow bar. It's mainly for visibility, okay? So I can change it to orange, so it's nighttime. Okay, so let's go back. Screen capture, I don't know what it's for. I think it's to take a screenshot. I've never used that feature. You can have the option to have bigger text on the review screen. Usually it's not necessary, and I leave all the text pretty much by default, and they haven't given me any issues. There is also option for routing. In the routing, you can choose if you want to do direct routing. If you turn it on, pretty much GPS just leads you in a straight line. It doesn't follow any trails, okay? So that might be useful for certain activities, but I always have it off, okay? If I'm following a route, okay? So the activity, again, this is redundancy. You have the mountain biking, and there's quite a lot more activities in here for you to choose in the profiles. So for the mountain biking, I'm gonna just choose mountain biking profile by default. And calculation method, of course, depending on the trails, you can have minimize time, you can minimize the distance, you can minimize accent. So depending on the preference and the kind of activity you do, you make sure to select the proper one for your activity, okay? So lock on road, if you have this on, the GPS is gonna stick on road when it's routing the route. And even if you go off the road, it's still gonna stick onto the road, okay? So which, for any outdoor activity, I turn it off, okay? If you go off route, there's options that prompts you to recalculate, or you can turn it off and you just go off route. You're gonna keep going off route, and it's not gonna recalculate the route that you've followed or you've started. For the avoidance, for mountain biking, I'm just avoiding the ferries. Of course, paved roads with mountain bike, obviously you're not gonna have any issue. If you're doing road cycling, you'll want to turn those profiles on to make sure your bike doesn't get damaged on the rough trails. And we're almost done, okay? So this is gonna give you a complete setup on different profiles. And for the remaining stuff, I'm just going to go through really quick. In the tones, you can customize the different tones for system alerts, for turning alerts, for proximity alerts. The proximity is pretty much if you set a point of interest, and if you go close to that within a certain distance, it gives you a beep, and it gives you different tones. Okay, so you can kind of hear all those options. It's not a very loud sound, and again, if you're at a quiet area on the trail, it probably doesn't make much difference. You can hear this quite clearly. If you're in the city, it's a little hard to hear, okay? You have the turn warnings, of course, all those tones. You can also disable the tone for the GPS once for all. I always leave the tone on because it's kind of useful. Over here, you have options to customize your heading. And here, customize the altimeter, the display options, and the calibration options. Again, this GPS is very fully featured. There are tons of options, but I already showed you guys the most important things to change in the settings for you to start a profile. In the sensors, you can control the inReach remote. You can control your Garmin radar, the Garmin headlight, tail light, whatever. And this is, I forgot which one. This is the action cam. You can control the action cam with this as well. Temperature sensor. In the fitness, you can connect. Those are the options you can connect. Okay, the heart rate, bike speed sensor, cadence sensor, or a combination speed and cadence sensor. Unfortunately, you cannot use a power meter for this GPS. Again, this is for outdoor use only. So they disable the power meter in this GPS. So if you want power meter, you want a fully featured cycling workout suite, get the Garmin Edge or one of those multi-use GPS watches, okay? So in the fitness, this is where you set up your user profile, your heart rate zoom. You can also select auto lap and then customize a distance based on the miles for your lap. I'm gonna turn it off because I don't really use it. And that's pretty much it. The position format, again, I don't think is relevant to workouts. And if you go to the menus, which I just showed you guys, is to customize your main menu to reduce the cluster in the main menu. I'm actually going to remove I'm going to remove the waypoint as well. All right. And the page sequence, though the page, I'll show you guys at the very end. Yep, that's pretty much it. We exit the menu. Now we are in the main menu. Again, this is very clear and straightforward now. The page is for this button, okay? The page setup shows you a quick toggle thing over here. So you can quickly go into the menu, which is right here. You can go into to view your map, which is right here. And you have the option of toggling. Let's see. The dashboard to show a full map while you're hiking or you're cycling. We can also toggle the dashboard, keep it on. And in this menu, you can customize what kind of map is displayed. You can measure the distance. You can show the altimeter. So this is basically from one point to the other. Okay, so let's get back into track. So this page, you can access by pressing the page button, or you can access by pressing the quit button. And when you switch between pages, this area is fully customizable as well, okay? So for now, for mountain biking, you have your altimeter display, main menu, map, you have your compass, and your trip computer. The trip computer displays your speed, your time traveled, your moving average, whatever. You can customize all the tabs by pressing the manual button. Sorry, I just went to a different menu. Pressing the menu button, you have all those options to customize the data that you want. Okay, there's a huge options, loads of data for you to customize, and you can all do it right here. Okay, so I'm gonna quit right now. You can always access the home button by the home menu by pressing the menu button twice, which leads you over here. So we don't have any recording, we don't have any activities recorded. So now gets to how do you start a activity when you first buy this GPS. You want to just go out and start hiking, start cycling. You start by going into recordings in your manual. Pretty much just hit start, okay? Once you hit start, it's gonna track based on the interval you set, based on the time you set, okay? And based on the auto stop and the distance, all those features that you set beforehand is gonna come into handy once you hit this start button. You can stop the track by hit enter. Now the track is stopped. You can either resume it, you can save the track when you finish, or you can discard this track. Maybe you just created an error, you can discard and hit yes. And if you go into recording control, you can see the entire activity gets reset. If you go to recorded activity, it's not showing up. You can also access that by, so this same button, you can access it in here by pressing this current activity as well. So anytime you are in recorded activities, you hit enter, it takes you back into here to quickly start your activity that you want. Again, I showed you guys the saved tracks, which is the activity you create in Garmin Connect and save it in JPX format, and you can save all the tracks for your later, workouts, follow the same track. That's pretty much it. I kept the satellite icon here so I can see, what my accuracy is. Again, amazing accuracy indoors with 6-foot pinpoint accuracy, which is quite good. All right, guys, I hope you guys found this tutorial kind of useful to you, especially if you just bought a Garmin GPSMAP 66 series. The setup is exactly the same for the S, for the SI, for the ST, even for the 64 and 65 series, okay? It's pretty much the same. Now, the 60R unit I demonstrated to you guys at the very beginning the advantage of the multi-GPS support, which is a super accurate GPS. On top of that, you can use this handheld GPS to record any kind of outdoor activity, from cycling to hiking, to fishing, even motorcycling. Because this GPS is able to create and plan a route in the GPS and follow the route, you can literally just load a street map for the car, or load a street map for your bicycle, and load a trail map, load a topo map. Okay, I want to just show you guys really quickly the map options. So over here, I'm actually using the free maps. This is a map. So show you guys the options of the map that I have. So in the Garmin, it have the useless base map. I always just gonna turn it off. In the Garmin, it also comes with a free topo active for the 66sr and the ST models. Again, this map is kind of good. You can buy it for $20 on Garmin website, but if you don't have that, go to OpenStreetMaps and download the topo maps from there. So I actually downloaded the bicycle map from OpenStreetMaps for my area. And I also downloaded a topo map for my area as well. This is also from OpenStreetMaps. OSM stands for OpenStreetMaps. This is a topo map. So you have tons of options nowadays to get free maps. You don't really need the Garmin topo map at all. Honestly, you don't need it at all, okay? And even then, if you have the Garmin topo, do know this is actually just OpenStreetMaps. They used the open source, and they added some like special sauce in there, which you might find it useful, you might not. And again, those are the map options. You don't have to buy the Garmin maps, just get the free maps. And again, it gives you a very detailed street map and also shows you the trails available. Let me show you guys really quick. So right here, you guys can see. So that actually gives you all the trails available in the natural areas. Quite useful, including mountain bike trails, including the hiking trails as well at the same time, okay? So again, very useful. very useful. You have the topographic elevations shown in the dotted format, and I believe you can customize it. Okay, so again, this is it. If you guys have any questions, comments, feel free to ask me in the comments section down below. I hope you guys find this video helpful, and if you did, please do hit the like button or subscribe to my channel, and I should have more tutorials coming out for you guys for the Garmin GPS map. Okay, so thanks again, and see you in the next video. Take care.